to win first place.
Get them to ascend.
We kind of just threw at the end.
30 seconds left.
Yeah, M80 we're winning 5 versus 3.
Look how quick this one.
Oh!
Welcome back, everyone, to Valorant Challengers League North America. I'm your host, Elizabeth, joined by Gompers and Dryad. And if you're just joining us, buckle up, folks, because we're in it for a map 3. I refreshed myself with some perfume. I got a snack. We're sitting here and we're ready to go because that was also, Gompers, that was a 6-6 half. The only regulation we had but until overtime, that map. We were down to the wire there, especially.
Oh my goodness, yeah, we were. And it wasn't, I'm gonna say it, like, I'm gonna be brutally honest, it wasn't the best game from both sides, to be completely blunt with you. There was a lot of mistakes being made, and honestly, like, Trust and Plug, they had the ability to take that home, but there were so many mistakes just being brought about, right? Like, unnecessary 1v1s, like, lack of adaptation from their side, and there were so many repetitive nature, like, M80 just kept doing the same thing, right? Of course, the occasional switch up from, I felt like the biggest disruption was maybe on the off, but there was nothing coming through from Trust and Plug that showed, you know what, we're fixing up the fact that this has been an issue. How are we going to deal with it? It wasn't like that. It was just, okay, sat there on the kill feed. And it was his game, to be completely honest with you.
The first half for Trust and Plug was actually really, really good. It was really clean. They understood the way that M80 like to play this with the 1-3-1, usually trying to get a little bit of control towards mid, especially because they've played on the attacking side first and a lot of the times, and the 2 times that we've already seen them play, now with this one, the 3rd one. And they were very proactive in trying to fight for space, right? They were trying to use the Armageddon towards Ram and get a little bit more aggressive, or even Teague having an operator with the breach towards B main, and doing different things like that, and that allows them to get that 6-6, right? This is the most rounds that on the attacking side anybody has been able to get against M80 in this stage. But now when we go into the defense for M80, it's a completely different story, because Sado, as Gompers was saying, completely takes over, and he's able to get that first pick. He TPs, he goes to the other side, and he's so proactive in going back and forth, where Trust and Plug, they were trying to adapt around it, but it seems like the side hits that they had planned, they were just not working out the way that they wanted to. There was even on that bonus that they got into that second half, a delay where they send the Rolling Thunder and there's no response right after. It comes to the individual 1v1s, and then you see another round, whereas that round 18 where they send an Armageddon to control B Heaven, they go to drop from B Heaven to go get this flag planted, and it's just a mess where everybody is already on site for defense. They shut them down, and with that timeout where it was at some point 9-6 for Trust and Plug, that M80 timeout was so effective. They were able to do so much more, put Sado in situations that were setting him up for success a lot more, and it just seems like he was on the defense, always at the right time, right place.
Gopper, something I'm going to ask you is that we were noticing while we were watching, while our beautiful casters were casting, that there was just a lot of kind of brawly fights, not a lot of proper util usage, just like, oh, I can take this fight, I can take this peak. And that is, especially when you have agents like Teho, like, you know, Breach, like Yoru, I'm going to call it odd, Gompers, but it's not the Valorant you love to see.
No, see, and that's the thing, like, Plug and Trust, I mean, Trust and Plug, oh my gosh, it says Plug, so I keep just going to Plug and Trust. Trust and Plug just have so many resources that I feel like they just didn't use. And like Dryad said, right, in the beginning on the defense, they were doing phenomenal, right, with playing with their util, playing with their resources. I think Teague was shining the most in defense, and it felt like this was the team's time to shine and take this 2-0, but it just completely fell apart, and M80 started to adapt to Chaotic, and the fact that Chaotic was taking up way too much space, and just the repetitiveness of Trust and Plug, as to where it didn't feel like that's what happened on their attack there. There was no adaptation. It was just the same thing over and over again. And there were actually times where we were seeing unnecessary 1v1s being taken in mid, unnecessary rundowns for some reason. Like, everyone was just like, you know what, I got this. It's 3 for me, easy. And it just was not that was not the case at all. And nothing was being used, right? Like, the ops still present being a complete issue for Plug, them losing players off the rip, which was the biggest issue, but no flashes to be used, barely any utility to be seen. And I guess we did see some util, but it wasn't used as effectively as I honestly wished it was. It was just lacking in terms of essence and anything in general.
There's definitely a moment of panic where you see Trust and Plug kind of try to do anything where Chaotic was being sent into side completely by himself, right? And it's not his fault. It was just the utility that was coming from M80 on this defense that was delaying everybody else to go alongside this Yoru. And it just makes it so tricky because Chaotic was doing insane on that first half, right? He was being so proactive towards mid. He was getting an operator kill. He was backing up. He was going towards B main. And he was finding the answer against M80 that way. But once it goes to Sato, it's just, I mean, he's just unstoppable. No, it was also really helping out so much that he was getting, he was not really playing towards mid. He was playing most often towards that A side, gets that opening frag, TPs out, goes towards B, waits for the rotation. And it seems like in the last couple of rounds, Trust and Plug were realizing this. They were trying to avoid that operator, but they were waiting a little bit too long, right? When it comes down to the 25 seconds left, they were already closer to the A side, decide to go towards B side, where Sato has already rotated on mid and is able to shut them down. And this is happening constantly, where Sato is just a problem because he's everywhere.
Gompers, something I want to ask you that we noticed yesterday, and Dan, if you want to chime in as well, whoever wants to, free choice, is that what we saw yesterday was kind of this hesitation from Plug, where if they weren't faced with something that maybe they were rehearsed or expecting, or they're kind of overwhelming, they were kind of stuck and they didn't know what to do. That's what Dan was hitting on just now. We see a little bit of that adaptation here. We see them being a little bit more proactive, being a little more reactive, if you will, but still it just feels like it's too little too late.
Yeah. In terms of improvement, I definitely think that it is drastically better than what we saw yesterday for Trust and Plug. The only thing I will say is, you know, they tend to be stuck, and of course it's improved, but they tend to be stuck with, you know, whether it be adapting to a player or adapting to certain situations. It's almost like you said, they freeze. It's like a deer in headlight situation where do we go? What do we do? And, you know, I'm not sure, because I'm obviously can't hear the comms, but it feels like it's also messing up with the mental. And, you know, they're trying to keep the confidence up. They're trying to display that by doing these 1v1s, by trying to isolate these fights, but it's just not working out because now it's just unnecessary. And then they're messing up the mental even more, as to where, you know, just taking a step back, taking a deep breath. The timeouts were perfectly placed, but they weren't talking about the right things, in my opinion. And I think they really just needed to take a small breather, play slower, really read into this team of M80, and like understand, hey, we're winning. Like, let's chill out. Let's not take this fight. It's not necessary. And I feel like that was what was missing.
Something I'm thinking about, Gompers, that you hit on with the comms is that Chet said to me in our post-match interview yesterday is that he doesn't want to see any more 13-11s to unsalaried teams. And I understand what he was saying, like a literal scoreline apart. This is not what you expect from AD. This is not what you expect from Chet and Victor. Granted, this is a team that, if you again go back to our post-match interview, that they haven't had a lot of time to work, just a few days. And Drew Spark announcing his departure today. We don't know what that kind of chaos or structural changes caused. There's still a lot of kind of murkiness and shadows, as Dan was hitting on earlier. We're moving kind of to a point where the murkiness needs to leave now. Like, it is, we need to make sure that, you know, you have, like, whether it's Victor, Permatejo, et cetera, like whatever it may be, that sort of synergy and that rehearsal, if you will, Dan, needs to be stronger for both of these teams, but especially what you expect more from M80.
And I understand what he means by that as well, but I just think, you know, this challenges that we have this year, this is not the same as we had year one, when we had the guard completely dominate everybody else. This is a very different, not only M80, but in general, a very different challengers, where it's very competitive at the top. You don't have one and one only clear favorite. Everybody's putting up a fight, whether they are signed by an org or they are unsigned. These are players and coaches and staff that is very competitive. So yeah, you want to aim for perfection. You want to aim to be that team that is completely dominant and nobody else can match you. But, you know, it's not as easy as it seems. And I know, I'm so sure that Chet knows that. But I feel like as you go into these matches, you're going to be realizing that. And what you're hoping to do is go through the Swiss stage, going and fixing those mistakes to maybe, hopefully for M80, have that dominant score that they want to have. But for now, it's still going to be this. It's still going to be this back and forth. And it's good. It shows a level of challengers. You cannot just have one team that's competitive. Everybody has been growing in the past couple months, and everybody is aiming for M80, aiming for Shopify or Billion Black, aiming for those teams that were at the top in stage one.
Well, I guess it just goes to show that in Challengers, anything can happen. And Chet, welcome to Challengers, homie. It's going to be tough sometimes, but moving into our third map of Haven, M80 starting on the defense. Gompers, this is a map where we could definitely see a Sato op shine, but also on the side of Plug, if we really want to see Chaotic kind of, you know, be a little bit more proactive in the duelist role, Haven's a great map for kind of the set plays that we were talking about earlier, that where Chaotic and Plug really shine.
Yeah, I will say too, like for Trust and Plug, this map has been played like 9 times in the past 3 months, and they've only lost twice. So when you're looking at statistics, this is a comfortable map. They understand. I'm gonna let Dan cook because
Hold up, wait a second. I was looking at this M80 comp. Last time that they played this map of Haven was in the grand finals against Shopify Brilliant Black, and they had Sato on Neon, only duelist. But guess what? Now they changed their composition to the Fnatic comp, where Sato is going to be on the Euro, as you saw him in the first map, but Victor is going to be on the ISO. I'm so excited to see this. If you have forgotten what Victor has done in the past couple of years, he actually used to play a good amount of duelist. He played a good amount of duelist for NRG when they were trying to make some changes and figure out what was working out for them, but also early on with Optic, he was playing a lot of the Neon too. So going on to this ISO, I'm so excited to see what he's able to do. And as I've said before, this is one of my favorite compositions here. Also, last point here, Chaotic on the Neon does a change as well.
I used to pray for times like this, Gompers. I used to pray for times like this to see Victor back on the duelist role. And also now we have the double duelist with Sato and Victor. And this is, chat, I want you to grab a snack. I want you to grab a blanket, get cozy, get comfortable, because we have a good last map for you in Plug versus M80. And I'm going to send it over right away so we can get started to our casters, Lemon, Kiwi, and Nerds. Friends, take it away. Enjoy.
This is gonna be a good one, nerds. Oh my god, desperate times come for desperate measures with M80 the double duelist. That's usually a Trust and Plug special to run to double duelist, but these are different times and different rosters.
Oh my gosh. I think it's really funny because I remember you talking about it. It's like you wanted to see a double duelist, but no, we have M80 going for it, and I love it. I think it's going to be a lot more. I feel like for Victor, it should give them a bit more confidence. And more than that, I'm just going to see how it plays out. Like, I really want to see them on the server for it. There's got to be a huge pep talk that happened in the back end of the M80 squad. Like, hey, you know, we have a lot riding on this. We have a very solid roster. On the flip side, though, for Trust and Plug, Chaotic Neon, the trap plays that you could set up with the Tejo Breach, Neon running down for a main control, and you control a third of that map with some nice setups on C. It's really going to be a test for both of these teams of who can excel the best.
It feels like rankers were the ones who run just the most of this ISO Yori, especially on this map. So M80 showing us a different look under circumstances they were not expecting to be in. A map 3 scenario where Trust and Plug, this is their playground. They are like always going to map 3s, but can they close it out? I mean, it all depends on how you were able to take that last map loss when you were up 6-3 or something, 9-6 at some other point. Plug got to shake off the rust, and they got to kick off their offense.
Immediate run up from Neon. Speaking of the offense, like, that was a lot of space and a lot rotated out towards A for M80, but they're just going towards B off the rip.
That's a risk to take with everyone still alive. That at least they could try to play from main. That's why they got their courtyard covered, but kind of backstabbing them is this ISO Cypher there from Bao and Victor. They managed to get 2 kills, and Plug will clear their backs, but now they have to worry about not being able to have vision of the spike. That's why if you don't have picks early, you gotta worry about what the retake could hold for M80, and just smoking off Plug was more than enough to take the pistol easily for M80.
I thought the initial contact for Plug and like the way that they played that wasn't too bad out on B. I just think B in general was a weird choice considering you had the run up on A, the good rotate there. But even on an A rotate, B is still very pinchable. It would have made sense if they like ran through garage towards C, tried to fight the Moose setup and then do something out of that. Or sorry, tried to fight the Bao setup and do something off of that. But no, that's where my question lies. And now looking at this, right, we're going to be seeing Trust and Plug buying up Stingers. They're trying to make this real spicy real fast.
Chaotic just wants to surprise them early, just racing down A main. Already putting damage down on the Caillou, but this is just to keep M80 busy because the spike is not immediately going that direction. Plug just looking for the best opportunity they can.
Now, I mean, they have this, like, they've set this up for A, but you have just immediate counterattack from Sato.
Oh, and even Victor is great support. He does get traded, but Sato kept his position hidden. 3. After putting down the Outlaw, he puts Plug to bed.
I like the idea for Trust and Plug. I think it's, you know, it was the exact same setup they had towards A. Getting an early shot and having Chaotic really pressure towards A main is cool and all, but they can't really play off of it. Now it forces Trust and Plug back into this save with Sheriffs. Take a look at that replay. I came into this a little late as, I mean, you just have Sato with a Outlaw spamming down the short choke.
That Plug had to go in kind of blind and got jumped from Sato, who, with an Outlaw, with an op, Sato is such a star. He's able to turn a lot of rounds into advantages for M80. And now it's Victor's turn in his A short area. It's his deadly duo. And Plug have to react to. And Sato's so disgusting. The spike is down at the worst spot. Bones has an important headshot to hit while worrying about who's in A main. He's gonna try and just isolate this angle, and Sato snuffs out the life of Bones, and it's just Moose, and he's got quite the flank going on.
Yeah, Caillou already privy to it. There's been so much silence, and there was so much of a gap towards mid, so you gotta know Moose is out there somewhere. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we looked at the bow setup towards Steve. Bow was also looking garage CT side, like, hey, where's Moose gonna pop out through? But now we see some ults coming online. Sato already has theirs. We see some plays coming through here. They've been trying to pressure this short choke so consistently, and it just does not work, as well as a very valid reaction there, Lemon. That was nasty out of Sato.
I just now realized that was a collat, like just Plug open a stack against them, and early recon from M80, getting information on where this Neod is prowling around, and it's Chaotic taking garage control. Okeanos has a paranoia, even a crossfire setup from Bao if they wanted to engage into garage, which can be a risk. So M80, after taking some damage, just gonna take a seat.
That smoke really kind of did them in. We get the 1v1 here for Victor. Tries to break it and loses the fight. But now they have to be funneled towards garage.
Yeah, there's that garage push trying to wrap around M80. We're not gonna let that happen again. Plug also have an op to worry about. Sato being loud and proud over at C. Plug are gonna make their times easier. Gotta worry about your backline, Sato. Sight set. And after losing garage, they could be behind you. They could be anywhere. And that's a re-clear that Bao has to hunt down. And the spike is down. Teague is solo. A big shutdown for Caillou. And it's all about, okay, well, the advantage that Plug has to work with is that, well, Bones, they don't know where Bones is.
That'll be Bones. Try and catch him off guard, really. That's kind of the goal.
A read from Caillou.
Yeah. It's really good, though. Caillou has had those, like, it's the second time we've seen them. Just knowing that if Plug has no other player on the map, like, we don't know where they are, we have to be worried about a backstab because it's the second time we've done it. Forces a timeout out of Plug. 100% it's going to be off of, like, what are we going to be doing? We do see Stingers being bought up with light shields. There's an overdrive available out of Chaotic. A lot has been going right for M80, and a lot has been going kind of south for Trust and Plug right now. That doesn't mean that their story is over. I'm a little concerned about the buy-up, looking at the creds down to like under 2,000 each. So, they do have a loss bonus, so you don't want to discredit that element of it, but it does kind of put into question of How much are they going to invest into this round, and is it really going to carry over against a not only a newly subscribed to Sato, but also just a really refreshed M80 who feel like they have come off of pep talk of a lifetime and a strategy set of a lifetime, because they've been fighting out really well with this composition of Double Duelist, the Fnatic comp that we've come to know and love.
Plug just don't want to worry about A short anymore. Sato has just won so many rounds for M80, and Plug just don't know how to deal with that. Wanting to set up Teague for an early fault line, then they get collided, so you try Garage, and Plug have a lot of options. This time they're going to maybe try to enable Chaotic a bit better, now that he has his overdrive. And you know that M80 like to get information early with Caillou being on that side of the map. So here's Chaotic, dip, dive, and dodge, but with the offensive smoke in place, you shouldn't be worried too much about M80.
I like Plug being kind of privy to the idea that we took this time out, so we might see Sato move out, so let's try and go back towards A, but they're still clearing short with a drone. So they're covering their corners.
All right, better clear out. Victor, the first victim. The other duelist next on the death note list. And Plug have set themselves up for success. But wait, there's an owl drone from the high ground. Plug have their focus a bit split right now. This is some chaos that M80 could try and take advantage of. But now Plug are just trying to slip right into M80 in these isolated positions, almost giving a leg up to M80 to come back. But it is a thrifty from Plug that comes in.
Wow. And just, I mean, we saw Q popping off there near the end. We thought Caillou was going to be able to sort of sneak it away. At least I thought. I was like, whoa, wait, there might be a 5-0 here.
The 3K?
Yeah, the 3K. I was like, ooh, spicy. But no drama here. No, we have a lot in terms of not only efficacy of the timeout, but also you can really see Chaotic getting active into it. Good sort of change of pace where it's like, hey, we can hit towards the A site. It's not that the A site's the problem. It's the fact that we're not sending a drone in. We're not flushing out some of that Sato utility like they're doing right now. Sato's posted up on the angle, but they still flush it out and flush Sato out.
Just trying to find Chaotic, and that's that Tom and Jerry show that we were talking about earlier.
I love Tom and Jerry.
Me too. Let's see. Now Plug with Garage smoked off. Oh, but wait, this paranoia from Okeano stops Plug in their tracks, and this is a great catch. But Okeano's punished by Bones. A big 2K to try and tilt the scales back in Plug's favor. But there's an op getting in position, barely dodging the Armageddon there from Bones. He's on his third. He's on a hunt, and he won't have another teammate. Sato is op exposed. Bones gonna try and get a safe plant, knowing the op's on the other side. He surely won't go for a push now. Bones has to delay there on the post plant with the salvos and just can't hold a candle to Sato.
Yeah, no, but when we talk about those plays, Sato just getting aggro individually out there in the 1v1. A little risky, but when you're going and flying so high with the confidence that this player's been exposing, and like the aura that he is farming, is honestly, it's important because they're, 12-1 right now. They haven't been able to shut down Sato. And I can start to see why this Fnatic comp was chosen. Victor, if they go down first, you still have Sato on that re-entry to really play as that main duelist, that main fragger. Whereas Victor is kind of there for the support of re-clear and to utilize a lot of that ISO utility on re-clears and holds. But it's another A hit with a flush out. It's a very similar setup to what we saw that previous round.
Oh, the Rolling Thunder tripping up Okeanos, barely gets into safety. Now Plug don't want to overcook. Kind of feed the Lions. M80 are on the high ground. Caillou got a big 3K there before. Needs to sync up. There's the Yoru clone thrown out. Just kind of looking for an open sight line. As Caillou's trying to cause movement. See just off of both of their sound cues alone what you can find in the drop down M80. A lot more numbers from Plug than they expected. At least the retake is there. Sato has to duel with an op though, and that's tough. And his teammates got zoned by the salvos from Bones. Timing is so unlucky. Spike is ticking down, and the angles are covered for Plug to take care of this round.
Have you ever seen like those videos of those like trampoline people that just jumping out like crazy? Which exactly that's the first thing I thought of. It was like, man, we're really going into a trampoline park flooding out of heaven like that. And it was unfortunate. It's a funny call out, but in reality, it is just like a weird sort of unfortunate scenario where they tried to use some utility to flood through and allow themselves that re-entry out of heaven, but it was just jointed against the people who were down towards CT because Plug was realistically holding so much site control. And now it's just a question of, you know, we had some early dominance. Trust and Plug has gotten a little bit better on these A execs. When they go towards other parts of the map, it's a little rougher for them. How can we clean up either our A retake or an A hold, considering that A is one of the harder sites to retake. It's one of the hardest sites to retake in Valorant on Haven A site. Not the hardest, that still goes towards Bind B, but still, statistics are there, and you need a really solid plan if you're going to go for it. Not to mention the fact that the Sato op is now out of hands, and they don't really have the economy to buy another one.
Plug got the A site off of Rolling Thunder, so I don't blame M80 for having to go for a retake, but can they be on prevention duty? And Sato had such a good start on A shore, and Sato has great starts to these rounds, and paired up with Victor, they've been a deadly duo on A, but Plug are trying to circumvent that with just having earlier util to suppress them, and now having a lot more room to think and space to react. Plug are looking better.
I'm seeing the A hold come alive a little bit better. They send Bow towards A and stack out C for the flood out and potential flank here. I mean, we have so many players. Expect it to happen.
Plug have been good at the reads before, having a trip on their flank.
Oh my god.
That is not an alley you want to go down. And Plug gonna ignore it, but that's gonna be the go sign. Pedal to the metal to sprint to the opposite side. Depends on, can you count to 5 though? There is one missing from that gang, and it's Bow at the top. You just heard the camera go off, so the plant ensues, and Bow just needs one corpse to get a neural theft. This is just pistols across the board except one hero Phantom.
Oh no.
Caillou has been huge before, but it's another flank that's going to be heard by a trip.
I was going to say, the flanks consistency here, they're going to know it's going to be a spray down, and that's the unfortunate reality of it. Okeano's trying to kind of fake it out a little bit, but they know.
And Moose was in A short, and he's about to wrap around this whole flank, and he's just backstabbing all of M80, or just forced to sprint in, and they're doing good damage. This is a 2v2, and Bao and Okeanos upgraded their weapons. Time on the side of Plug. We're hiding in smokes, and I don't think they have time. That was so close to a thrifty.
I mean, it was so close to a thrifty, and even though there was a lot of moments of like slipping away out of M80, the fact that Plug won that was a bit of luck and success on their side in terms of the timing and the stall, and the fact that M80 was able to overpower them is the same thing. So it's a really similar situation of a lot of things going right in one side and wrong on the other side in a little flip-floppy way. I will say, though, if we're talking about things going right, look at that. It is 4 ults to 1 here, and we're talking about a dimensional drift neural theft. Even have a kill contract available for Victor for the M80 side. And if they're going to be retaking like that towards A, they've cleaned up some of their A retake protocols. I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to be seeing a new and improved form of M80.
After you heard that teleport from Sacred, he is deep into enemy territory, and M80 thought maybe, okay, he went through A heaven, this could be an A hit. No, it's through spawn, and Plug managed to get an open C lane. They're on the site because M80 are worried about where this flanker is. Sacred presence known, manages to match up with his team and meet up with them, and M80 are overcooking these flanks again. They get read by trips, and that's been the beauty of having Moose on this team. Gives so much good information to Plug, but does that really matter? Kill contract is gonna get one out of the picture. Victor versus Bones, and M80 have secured the round.
And that's
great combo of ultimates there, gets info off of it, and we're talking about that overcook on the flank. I think it was a little scary because you're getting into that territory of it's starting to become, you know, from medium to well done, but thankfully we got some chefs in the kitchen. Chet knows, all right, gotta let that steak rest. And realistically, the fact that they had ISO being on that flank really kind of helped them, because you can get into the kill contract if you're already going to layer ultimates like that. It allows for a lot more success. more than all of that chaos combined, I do also want to highlight the way that Plug used their teleport. The Omen ulti was super nice to kind of trap Bao in. Yeah, it didn't work out in the end, but it really shows that they're getting creative with some of their ultimates, like right now with the overdrive.
Looks like I've had early fault lines to make sure these duelists don't get away with too much crime. And speaking of crime, Chaotic has been let loose and just read by Victor. Double tap activated, and M80 have secured their side of the map, and a big double from Plug tilts the scales back in the offense's favor.
Wait a minute. And honestly, I'm liking to see how Moose is... Oh, never mind. Moose is not here. They're just going to go pinstripes.
Yeah, oh, that paranoia is going to hit Bao. Neural theft in a 1 versus 2. Definitely possible. Wow. Plug are just going to evacuate. Try and hide their position as best as they can, but now have to go and check up on the spike after he got tapped there from Bao. Only one place they could be, and that's from Main. Dodging the fault line, the one in almost a second. Sacred back to safety. Did get tagged to 45. Chance to get the spike to half and even health, and Sacred peaks at the right time.
Unfortunate for Bao there. Really well played out of them. The thing I wanted to say before the chaos started to compile on itself was that I was liking how Moose is taking these engagements and really reading into it alongside Teague for this Trust and Plug squad. But the thing that really scared me in that moment was the fact that, you know, it kind of slipped away from them. It felt like it was slipping away from Trust and Plug. Another element of this is the fact that for the M80 squad, it seems like Victor's playing it almost like KO. It feels like because of the contingency, kind of removing those ultimates, you use that to initiate a fight. Sometimes, yes, it is, you know, self-utility, but it still works.
Chaotic repeat that? That's crazy. And M80, we're trying to see, okay, well, we haven't shown ourselves an A. Sure, we've conditioned the Plug to have a sense of safety. We're Plug have used these early fault lines, now trying to conserve it. And M80 got the jump on them with this different position, although Chaotic really hesitated in that moment whether to commit or to get back to safety. Plug are still committed towards A, with M80 pretty confident in their advantage.
I mean, you have the players up. Bao is set up towards the C site. If they try to enter, you will be able to back out. You have a stack towards A. They're kind of leaving it a bit more retake because of some of these ultimates, and they're really respecting this Armageddon.
I think that Armageddon took out the drone, the owl drones too, so I mean, you don't have much information, so they gotta use their eyes and their guns, and this is definitely working out. Sato was watching over flanks. Now you just have to worry about what's in front of you, which is Sacred again, all by himself in a 1 versus 3. This is M80 creating quite the insurance plan to go forward and kind of create as big of a gap as they can between themselves and Plug going into the second half.
Got them on a 6-month premium or yearly, but doesn't matter. I mean, they at this point, like, they've got that spike secured for at least another 12, right? And we're talking 12 seconds, not 12 months. Yeah, you go for the fight, but Sacred becomes scared and becomes not spared, actually. Just gets taken down here. And at this point, we're seeing a lot more out of M80's defense, the way that they've changed it up. I mean, A, we've said, was a sour point for them. And even then, they started to really clean it up. The Armageddon stunted them from entering in, but they still managed to wait it out. And they're going to be doing a lot of the same stuff here, because on this last round, we have not only eco buys, but also just not as much out of this Trust and Plug side. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see them going down. The real question I have is, what do they have cooked up?
Another dead Chaotic by the same hands as the last round. And Sato usually is able to just gate crash out of any salvos, and no way he gets the fadeaway. And then Caillou just gets to cut off everyone at the heel as they go to chase down where the Sato threat is, the final boss of Haven, the final boss of M80. Plug will still manage to plant 2 versus 4. There's a whole classroom of agents here to say hello, and it's an 8-4 half for M80.
I honestly thought Chaotic was going to go... I really hoped Chaotic, honestly, was going to go somewhere else with that Bucky in hand, because this is like the 3rd round in a row we've seen them try and run down towards A main, and Sato's like, okay, if you're going to do this, we're going to do the same thing here. Like, if we're going to be playing how we played on Split, and we're just repeating the same strats, I'm just going to do the thing that works. And M80 has now gotten 8-4. A little bit of a harsh statement, but like the reality is that Chaotic repeaked in the previous round, ran down this round, immediately got stunted as a result of it. And the fact that Sato has the confidence to re-swing into a retake with op while the rest of the squad is pushing in just goes to show the coordination out of them, on top of the fact that you have Victor playing as that pseudo-initiator, setting Sato and the rest of the team up with the ISO utility. It's really cool to see how they cleaned up their A retake, as well as the fact that, you know, they have to keep retaking A because Plug have just kept going A.
Sato has such a cool style with the Yoru, just playing as safe as he can, but finding so much value in those windows he chooses to engage in. And Chaotic kind of played a Yoru like a Neon, just teleporting forward into danger. And Victor faces danger alone. But did get a lot of attention from Plug while the rest of M80 infiltrate to B. But as the spike gets planted, there's the paranoia, there's an execution. Judge, jury, and the whole squad of Plug take care of M80.
Just looking at my notes real quick. Round 1, Neon runs up A. Now, I look at my M80 notes for round 14, or round 13. Victor runs up short. So we're talking like pretty similar strategies, and they both end B. And it just doesn't seem to work, and the confusion continues here. I get it, they're trying to fast exit to trip the enemy team up, but it just seems like lackluster in terms of the way it was executed. Yeah, you have doubled up in a buddy system, but a flash well-timed and a team collapses. B is also notorious to be easy on a retake. You're going on one of the most even rounds of the game when you both have pistols, so Plug being able to take advantage of that.
Uh-oh, see if they take advantage of the outlaw from Chaotic. At least kind of with the shield posted up from this ISO. You get to pick up the orb, but only for a couple of seconds. I mean, it took too long to figure out who was going to grab that. Caillou is sacrificed to the gods, and M80 is still going to choose to try and challenge this outlaw with pistols.
Went from Valorant to Cult of the Lamb very quickly here. But they're trying to run in on him, and unfortunately that's why the outlaw was invented, to double tap towards ISOs.
Yeah, even against the shield too.
Planted.
M80 set themselves up the best that they can, had the deficit that they have, but just being so forward but not peeking early enough, and Plug will catch them.
And now Chaotic's gonna defuse here. They're gonna be one off ult. They carry over such good weapons. I mean, Chaotic's can find one, get their ultimate for this next round, and still drop a weapon to their next player, giving them a 3-round win streak. Maybe I'm overcooking right now, but all I gotta say is that for M80, they have a decent-ish buy. Caillou's the only one who doesn't have a big weapon to purchase up here, because they tried to go for a little beefier purchase, and now it becomes the question of, was it worth it? How is this gun round gonna look like? No, they do buy up with the rest of the team altogether. Just going for a Marshall at the beginning just to bait us out there. I thought they were maybe saving for a Sato attack side off. That would be cool.
You just have an outlaw just running out of garage. I'm surprised Sacred still has legs under him. M80 being really aggressive in mid, trying to chase that down. The aftershock will limit, and M80 will still try to get through. Paranoia from Plug cuts them off, and Bones has the perfect jump out to get a 3-for-1 exchange. You didn't even need this overdrive, but with Caillou lurking, he's kind of the king of multi-kills over there. I don't blame him, I guess. 2 versus 1. The spike still down. I'll be able to recover this.
At this point, it's been explicitly shown that Bones has really been able to break through so consistently in like the weirdest sort of niche ways. And now you're just pushing into this outlaw unaware, unopposed, but a whiff is going to send you in a bit of a presumptuous scenario.
The hat is bulletproof, don't you know?
Oh,
Now
of
Bao has
course.
a heads up on where this is coming from. Wait, this is possible. 1v1! No way! Plug through that round.
No, and also Jinx, but like no way is the right word. Like what? I don't think either of us were prepared. Truly rattled, but it's not the Bones squad with Trust and Plug. No, it's Bao really bouncing back, and thankfully we get this replay, because this, again, like, this is insane. And the fact that Caillou didn't go down, now Caillou was able to get the 3K. I could see why Chaotic needed that, but This right here is what truly did it. Oh my god. Plot armor. It's
That's
Bow
so
plot
sad.
armor. It's plot
And then
armor. It's
Chaotic
gotta
jumped
be.
out. And Chaotic like jumped out and said nope. And
Nope.
like
I'm out.
the Simpsons me. I'm just trying to get out. It said nope. And that's been
Do it
quite a
for
few
Bow.
times Chaotic has done that. Yeah.
But now they're just like flooding all out back the same way that they came from. Similar
That's the
exit.
same way that Plug cooked M80 last time, with that paranoia coming in at the angle as M80 had garage, but this time M80 just have a better reaction, not letting Bones come out and piece them up. But Plug got a flank cooking through garage.
Spike planted.
But M80 have all their angles covered. 1v1. Sato deals with Chaotic. One threat down, one to go, and it's Bones. There's a crack in the smoke to try to get some vision into the site. But a 1v3 is hoping this smoke expires, but it's going to be running low on time to pull this off, and it's going to decide to save the weapon.
I think it was really surprising they went for the same play. I like the cleanup of it. It's almost like they got another chance to do this. It's like, okay, we're just going to refresh this, but we're going to do it better. So they're learning from a lot of the mistakes. Again, this is a game of doing things right, and M80 has really got the firepower, I would say, to do that. The one thing in my mind is that Victor is kind of being that initial like entry. I thought Victor would be playing sort of secondary in some cases, but no, Victor has really been the one kind of running in there and leading the charge. Now, whether that is the firsthand experience of being a duelist previously, like we've like the desk has discussed, I believe Dryad brought that up, or whether it is just a matter of just having some of that confidence, like, hey, you need to be confident, so go in there and allow Sato to be set up. So then Sato isn't the first entry. You have Victor going in. If Victor falls, that's fine. Victor gets the assist farm, and Sato pushes in. But regardless, it's working. The thing is that it's working really well. So well, in fact, that Trust and Plug now need to reconsider almost everything that they're doing.
I think just to also mentally recharge if you're Trust and Plug, because you threw away the most winnable round off of just kind of hesitating in a position that you shouldn't be in. And then to that last round where M80 did the exact same thing, like you pointed out, and just executed better on reacting to a paranoia. And this is what happened the first time when Plug 3K'd them. And Caillou was the one who made that round even close for Plug previously. But that Bow double kill should have not happened. But
No,
M80 finds themselves being able to sort of reverse sweep? Question mark.
Oh no, they weren't down. Well, technically they weren't down. It was getting close there off a lot of really good retakes. So now we see a brawl towards A. The Stinger Supremacy rises up yet again, and I am getting a bit excited about the Stingers.
Chaotic just has to kind of chill out and pick at least his timing carefully off of maybe a fault line from Teague, and the paranoia comes in from Plug, and Chaotic emerges and dismantles M80. Plug just needed to enable their duelist, and it finally works out. It costs you your breach though, and that's really tough. M80 were able to circumvent that push from the sewer side, so this round is not over yet.
And now Teague out of the equation. That's IGL able to at least click through stuff. But Chaotic is posted up here. I don't think they expect the clear. Yep, not at all.
Unlucky
all.
timing. The
Not
4K
at all.
from Chaotic. Just the timing is really cleaned up there from Plug to just give a sense of security from M80. Not just jump out as soon as barriers are down. When you're playing Neon, it gives you the vibe that you should be just fast all the time. But Plug need to slow it down sometimes.
Gotta go fast, but not in this case. I think what they did was really well in terms of allowing Chaotic to be set up for success. I mean, Chaotic obviously knew, right? Like, had the read of like hide in the corner. But I think also just the layers of utility we've seen out of Plug, where Chaotic goes for the relay bolt as well as Bones setting up the utility alongside them. Nice little trap play.
Who's next?
Post timeout, Trust and Plug to get back into the driver's seat, but still in a deficit. Is leaving the A site completely open. Response is Dimensional Drift. Not a full set of rifles on the M80 side, but a Bucky and a Sheriff can still hurt if it can hold an angle and hold up close. Speaking of that, M80 are holding close and having a paranoia at the ready as soon as Plug even think about coming in, and Chaotic can't even slip by all the shadows. The Hunter's Fury just annihilating any entry that Plug want to take advantage of. Just Teague in a 1v4, and Hey, you get the punish on the member from M80 overextending, but Teague is desperate to keep this weapon if he can.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a convenient scoreline regardless of the 11-7, and if we flip it, you get it. But regardless, really good exec for M80 off of the dimensional drift. Really cleared things out. Honestly, it was just a really impressive round of it out of M80. Like all in all, it was just a really good round of farming info off of Sato's ultimate to allow the rest of the team to get set up in a very oppressive post plant. They had 2 down towards Hell. They had a Hunter's Fury all the way from the back, lining things up. And you see it set up as well, right? They do send out salvos once they realize, okay, we might be pressured out of Hell, but they just immediately play out on the site because they already have the player advantage for M80. Now, Plug, they're in a very tough spot. Do we use our ultimates here on a slightly broken buy? I mean, probably try and sway it in their favor.
M80 looking to start their stage 2 with a positive record, sitting at 1-1. They're getting humbled early in their season. M80 expecting desperation from the Plug side, so just kind of letting them dictate the early round. Now it's M80. I can get into Garage. Not wanting to invest too many members there in case there's a breach fault line, in case there's a paranoia. M80 don't want to walk into an unnecessary trap, and as soon as this Yoru teleports out from Sato, it baits out the Armageddon from Bones, and there's no one home.
That was just a bit of a bait. And a 1-for-1 comes through. The A site is going to be rushed up upon.
And Plug on prevention duty, cracking the smoke, and even small headshot onto Bao, and he's still somehow breathing. And Plug doing what they can to turn left and right, but all they can do is look down, and maybe upon this whole series too, of how this was within Plug's hands of being up in the series, for Plug to be at an advantage in split, to fumbling at the finish line, to M80 creeping up at the very end of the series, now sitting on match point.
Very solid though, right? Like I was mentioning, you have Victor sort of going in as that like entry, and if they fall, they fall. Utilize as much of that ISO utility as fast as possible to set up for Sato. Even more so, they kind of fake it towards Garage, so they get rid of the most crucial ultimate on the enemy side. Because now, how do they retake here, right? Yeah, Moose can potentially pop the neural theft, but you need to not only have a corpse for that, but also it needs to be with a lot of players alive.
Cover going out.
Kiana's pop the ult, place the smoke, and like 3 people from Plug are looking at this smoke. Like,
yeah.
That was just the ultimate ruse, and this opened up so much of the map for M80. Now it's an open C site. You didn't even have to worry about Garage, and Plug know that there's no one there, so they just have to surround and conquer. It's a big opener for Chaotic too, as M80 want to have time on their side, using the spike plant. And then worry about this tripwire though, and Sacred and Moose don't have an immediate reaction. Maybe wanting to have a solid plan. There's Bao. It's gonna be inserted in this corner. He's gonna get the jump on one, and here's Sacred that could have a punish, and he's almost fumbling. Manages to secure the kill nonetheless. An even battle. That made a chance to take the series, and it's Okeano's found. The rest trying to play from main. The spike, diffuser getting killed. Caillou. The K stands for clutch potentially. The defuse is halfway. Plug are gonna stick it. Sacred sacrifices himself, and it goes through.
Oh, and Bones gets another. I don't know, it feels very appropriate there, but just, I mean, we talked about it, right? I'm surprised because that smoke and the ultimate was towards the seaside lean. So you'd expect if players are going to rotate, they're already leaning towards C, and you can even see there's a preemptive plan, like the bait for Bao towards Garage. Victor push up, makes a lot of noise. Bao's inserted, but then at that point, it begs the question of, why NC if you're going to be faking this push towards C and drawing the rotations of the TP with the smoke?
Plug still have to play flawless and having a good read, at least on the A hit. A lot of eggs in the chaotic basket, 1 and 2, but he has a kill contract to get through. See who will put the ink down. Victor with the extra shield, and he's careful with this shot. A star removed from the galaxy of Plug, and a 1-man advantage as M80 hope to truck on, but at least Teague is still up, and a flash and some limitations Plug can provide to not let this offense get comfortable.
They leave it. The corpse is going to reveal. So now they have full confidence going into it. But it's a run up mid. I don't expect them to end B, but it's a very good possibility for them to just plant it fast and play off of some of these really crucial positions.
Paranoia and Fault Line. Teague just had that regenerate too, and Plug do clear the site. The drone trying to assess the numbers. 3 left from Plug. They won't have much to really obscure M80's vision from the spike, and Okeano secures it for M80 to take the series 2-1 at the very end. They'll have a positive win record of 2-1. What a win from M80.
Man, huge win for M80. I'm going to give it to them. But I think it's really funny that at some point throughout this broadcast, we said, you know, Trustin Plug hasn't had the best record in the map 3s, and it continues here. But again, I just want to say props to M80 in that final round, doing a really good job of playing the ever noted quote unquote cringe post plant of we spam a lot of utility, and we make sure, okay, you guys can't what are you doing? You guys can't retake. We have shock darts, guns, bullets, and a lot more. They needed to slap a Tejo there as well so the magic missiles can go fly, but unfortunately they did not roll a nat 20, and so because of that, we are now, I mean, that's the 3rd map done. I mean, it's been a very rough ride, but we got here, and our predictions, whoo, they were saved.
And, you know, there's a lot of changes happening on both teams, you know, whether there's new players coming in, new coaching systems being implemented. It's still very early in this split, and M80 have showed us that even the Kings can drop their crowns at times, and they're still pretty much destined for playoffs. But man, the competition in Challengers is rising up, and we're really excited for it. We got one more match to go, but I want to hear from the desk, so we'll see you after this.
Enemy remaining.
Don't forget why.